eat and people starving and all of that. If that is their claim. For those of us who are fortunate enough to still have a meal on our table every day, we say thank you for that. So let's get straight into it because it's already 11:18 by my clock. So there are just a couple of things that I wanted to add my 2 cents to this morning. I know I said that for the next few Sundays we will be discussing the issues of, issues related to estate planning, retirement planning, and so on. But we'll take a little break in between because there were a couple of things, as I said, that I wanted to touch on that are, the main topics of discussion right now in the public domain. Of course, the number one being the decision by the government to extend the state of emergency for another 3 months, and this decision is not sitting well with a lot of people. So we've been hearing comments, the different media houses have been interviewing people on the streets to kind of get a feel and idea as to how people feel about this stated intention of the government. They're supposed to be calling the parliament back from an emergency session from its recess on Wednesday to debate that extension, and because it only requires a simple majority, it will pass because the government holds that simple majority. The leader of the opposition, however, has already indicated that the official opposition, is opposed to any such extension because she's saying, like many others, that such an extension makes absolutely no sense. They see no purpose in it, and they want to see statistics and they want to see data to support the government's decision to extend the state of emergency. Interestingly, though, that this comes at a time when we mark the 10-year anniversary of the implementation of a state of emergency by the People's Partnership. 21st of August 2011 was the day that the People's Partnership would have implemented their state of emergency 10 years ago, and we know how that went. And at that time, 10 years ago, almost to the day, they saw the need for, or the benefits of, a state of emergency, which would have resulted in thousands of young African men being arrested, among other things, and persons' rights were curtailed, the same rights that they're clamoring for now. Interestingly, so the UNC cares about rights now, but 10 years ago, they didn't, right? But anyway, so people have, the argument is that the state of emergency would have failed in what they perceive to have been the primary motive for the state of emergency in the first place, which was to reduce or to keep down the numbers in terms of the new infections from COVID and to reduce the number of deaths. And that because we have seen, an increase in the number of deaths and the numbers have not gone down to perhaps what some would consider satisfactory, that means that the state of emergency didn't work. And so ordinary citizens too are citing this whole statistics and they want data to support the claim. And in the absence of that, the consensus is that the state of emergency failed. Well, I would disagree with that position, and I would ask for the same people, if you want statistics to show that from the government to support the view that it worked, then I would ask you, can you provide us with the statistics and the data to show that if there was not a state of emergency, that the numbers would not have been higher? Because the average we've been seeing for the past couple of months, in terms of the daily infection rates, is between 100 to maybe 300, 350. But who is to say that without the state of emergency, it wouldn't have been double or even triple that? Where is your evidence to show that the state of emergency was not successful in that regard? Who is to say that without the state of emergency, that the number of deaths might not have been even higher than it is? And we don't need to reinvent the wheel. One needs only to look at regional examples. Jamaica, earlier on this year, January, February, thereabout, their daily infection rates, new cases, is reading between 500 to 700, 800 a day. And with the imposition of stricter measures, particularly the curfew, under their state of emergency, they were able to successfully bring those numbers down to double digits in most days. And then, of course, there were the few off days when they would go back into 100 and something, as the case may be. But for the most part, they were able to bring down the number of deaths, the daily number of deaths, from double digits every day to single digits, as well as the number of daily infections. I listened to a video, a live that somebody did yesterday, a Jamaican, and she was saying that the citizens of Jamaica pressured the government and the Prime Minister into relaxing some of the measures and the restrictions that were put in place to treat with COVID. And now, Jamaica is now right back to where it was 5 months ago, where for the last 5 days, they have been recording daily increases of 500. The lowest that they've seen in the last 7 days was about 235 new cases. Yesterday, they recorded 794 new cases, which is the second highest total that they have recorded since the start of the pandemic. The day before that, 600 and something. The day before that, 500 and something. So Jamaica's numbers are heading in the wrong direction. But when the measures, the stricter measures were in place, when a few months ago the Prime Minister announced that they would put a ban on funerals for 2 weeks, so no burials, no cremations in Jamaica for 2 weeks. For the longest while, Jamaica has been under a state of emergency, where curfew on Saturdays, I believe, started from 6 p.m. till 5 a.m. Sunday morning, and then it restarts on Sunday from 2 p.m. until 5 the next morning. The situation has gotten so bad in Jamaica that the government has decided to have a 72-hour stay-in-place curfew, meaning you cannot leave your home except for certain emergencies or unless you are considered to be an essential worker. And it starts at this all day today, all day tomorrow, all day Tuesday, 24-hour curfew. You can't leave your home. It is not that bad in Trinidad. We haven't gotten to that point. We've never had restrictions on burials and so on. But you see, people tend to take things for granted until there is a draconian leash that is put on their freedoms, and then they realize, we didn't have it so bad before. So people are asking, what is the point of extending the state of emergency? Well, let me give you. First of all, the Attorney General has been making the rounds, and apparently a lot of media houses and people seem to be missing this, like they didn't hear the Attorney General. So I heard him on 2 different television stations since Tuesday night. And this is what the Attorney General had to say. The decision to extend the state of emergency was taken to trigger the decision was taken to trigger a further extension for a period not exceeding 3 months, as the Constitution permits in Section 10. The Attorney General said this is achieved by a resolution of the House of Representatives on a simple majority basis. Some of the driving factors that assisted us in coming into this decision included the fact that the 2 primary regulations that are in existence are both specifically tailor-made and designed to assist the management of the pandemic and in the careful balance between lives and livelihoods. On the one hand, the State of Emergency Regulations number 2, that is the larger side of the regulations that provides for the regulation of businesses being permitted to open in the timeframes in which they are allowed to operate and the usual measures that you are now accustomed to. Vaccination regulation. Al-Rawi said that the second important regulation is the State of Emergency Vaccination Regulation, which allows for the broadening of personnel authorized by law to administer vaccines, including dental assistants, medical interns, etc. The Attorney General noted that TNT is in the stage of vaccination rollout with a significant supply of various vaccines, including Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Sinopharm, and Johnson & Johnson. So the point that the AG is making here is that in order for the government to continue to retain the ability and the power to co-opt a certain cohort of persons to assist in the administration of vaccinations, can only take place under the state of emergency. So without the state of emergency, apparently what he's saying is that the only persons who would be authorized to give vaccinations would be the doctors and the nurses. But the regulations under the state of emergency allows them to use persons such as dentists, pharmacists, medical interns, veterinarians, and so on, persons who are qualified to give vaccinations but otherwise would not be able to do so in this case unless there's a state of emergency in place. Now we see that more vaccines continue to come into the country, right? And therefore there is more options. And as the government continues to ramp up its rollout of the vaccination program, if it is you remove the state of emergency and the only people then that could give the vaccines would be the doctors and the nurses, obviously that is going to put pressure on not just the parallel healthcare system, but on the primary healthcare system as well, because you're going to have to be taking personnel essential and necessary personnel who are treating COVID patients now in the parallel healthcare system and to some extent the primary healthcare system, to bring them out on the field to give vaccines, which means that you are going to be short-staffed in the hospitals and the health center to treat with people who are not being treated for COVID but other ailments, that the complement of staff available to do that would be significantly strained. But now we are able to manage it because under the state of emergency, we have that option where we could use other people who are not a part of the parallel healthcare system or the primary healthcare system. So we can use these people to give the vaccines, and the main healthcare people, the doctors and nurses, can now be focused on treating with people in the hospital itself, right? So he has made that point, and also the point of the regulations gives the government certain powers and authority with respect to regulating the opening and the times that businesses could open and so on, right? So, but apparently, as I said, that has been missed. A lot of people are saying as well that the reason why the government wants to extend the state of emergency is because they're afraid that people are going to come out to protest, and the government is afraid of the protest. If there's, as far as I see, if there's one government in this country that is not afraid of protest, it's this administration. Because there were issues to protest between 2015 to 2020, and we didn't see any type of protest, the likes of which we would have seen between 2010 to 2015. The Section 34 protests that drew thousands of people. The protests for the giveaway of the Chaguaramas lands that again drew thousands of people from across the spectrum in Trinidad and Tobago, people of all different races, all different ethnic backgrounds, people of all different social backgrounds, economic backgrounds, came out to protest the People's Partnership giving away the lands in Chaguaramas. Then we saw massive protests as well when they brought out the roll-on, what was that, why is it skip me now? The runoff legislation, where we saw thousands of people came out to protest that. And for 3 days, we had people running a relay protest in front of the waterfront where the parliament was at the time, where people were overnighting. And then 6 o'clock in the morning, another batch of people would come to take up the slack. And they would stay there until about lunchtime. And then another group would come at lunchtime and stay there until the evening when the other batch would come who would overnight on the pavement. Unheard of in this country. We have not 2015 to 2020, despite all that the opposition will want to tell you that this government is the worst government and things so bad. 39% of the population, according to a recent poll, stated that things were better under Kamala than under this administration. But we didn't see any protest of that type for that 5-year period. And if there's any time in the life of an administration, if there is to be protest, that you would allow it, and it would be in the early days. This government just marked the first year of their second term. They still have 4 solid years. So anybody who wants to come out and protest now, they ain't doing anything to the government. What is that going to do? What are you going to protest? You want the economy to reopen? That ship sailed already. There are very few sectors left to be open. In fact, tomorrow, we have another sector that is going to be opening with the hairdressers and the barbers and all of these people, service providers, domestics and so on. All these people will be coming back out tomorrow. So all that is left really to be opened is the bars, for them to reopen, in-house dining in restaurants, the beaches and the rivers. More or less, yeah, that's it really. And perhaps to the public sector to go back out full-time instead of the rotation that they're doing now. But there isn't much left to reopen, so what you're going to come and protest for? That? Anything else that they want to come and protest is past tense. You want to come and protest what? That people lost their jobs? And what is that protest going to do? Now, if I had to say that the government is afraid of protest, it would be for one thing. Protests would only lead to a spike in numbers. We saw with the candlelight vigils that they had earlier on this year, despite the fact that the opposition and other entities would say that played no role in the increase in the numbers. But given where the COVID numbers are now, if it is you lift the state of emergency and all these people who want to protest, because, you know, the first thing I expect we're going to hear this week that the government decided to extend because the union was planning their Freedom March on the 1st of September, whatever it is. And the reason why they extend it is to thwart that. But marches result in congregation of large numbers of people. No social distancing. And if it is that we still seeing daily numbers of 100 and something to 200 and 300, what do you think is going to happen if a few hundred or a few thousand people decide to come together to march? And they want to have their march all over the country. And we know that is what the UNC will be doing. They will have their motorcade protest that they wanted to have the other day that fell by the wayside, and they will want to have other protests. I heard a gentleman the other day complaining about the state of the road somewhere down in Penal, and he just waiting for the state of emergency to lift, and they will give the PNM the mother of all protests. Okay, and then we will see the mother of increases in the numbers too. So that is perhaps the only aspect of protest that the government is afraid of. Let us not forget that it was this administration under this Prime Minister that refused for months to institute a state of emergency despite calls from the opposition and other entities who were telling him, you need to impose a state of emergency, and the government kept refusing, and the Prime Minister kept saying, we don't see the need for it. We don't need to have it now. It was only when we saw an explosion in the numbers a few days ago after Easter that the government saw the need really to put that in place. So people need to understand that. Look what is happening in Australia. Australia's borders have been closed for as long as ours was, and it's still closed. And now, for the last couple months or so, Australia was just seeing their daily increase in the number of new cases was 5, 10, 6, 4. But all of a sudden, they have seen an explosion in numbers. The highest that they've seen since COVID started. Yesterday, it was 894. This morning, 914. The day before that, 700 and something. The day before that, 600 and something. So their numbers are heading in the wrong direction, and their borders are closed. And their border closure and restrictions was a lot more draconian than ours, because they had specific numbers of persons that they were allowing into the country every week. And simply because the government imposed a lockdown to try and treat with that, yesterday they had a protest where one of these protests had over 4,000 persons, majority of them not wearing masks. And if it is over a 3 or 4 day period, you are seeing numbers of between 600 to 900 new cases. What do you think is going to come out of that protest? Just that one protest where you had over 4,000 persons estimated to have been in attendance. So Australia is likely to see a further implosion in their numbers in the coming days. So how many people went to that march who were COVID-free, and when they left the march had COVID and gone home and will share it with family members who didn't go to the march? Family members who probably didn't see the sense in the march and decided not to go. But by virtue of the fact that their family members who are so against the lockdown decided to go, what's going to happen now? Implosion in numbers, right? But further to that, let's look at Grenada. Grenada has been under a state of emergency, I think, since the 21st of December, 2020. In May of this year, the Grenadian government indicated that they would be extending their state of emergency till November of this year. At that time, when that announcement was made, Grenada had less than 100 cases in total and 0 deaths. Less than 100 cases and 0 deaths. And they announced that their state of emergency would be in place at least until November of this year. So they would have been under state of emergency for almost 1 year, come November. To date, Grenada, and I saw in the news last night that they are now ramping up their COVID restrictions. To date, Grenada's total infection number since the start of COVID is 212 cases and 1 death. 212 and 1 death. And they are now seeking to ramp up their COVID restrictions, and their state of emergency was extended to November since May of this year. And here it is that Trinidad and Tobago, our total case count is over 40,000. Our death total is over 1,200. And we complaining because the government wants to extend the state of emergency for another 3 months to help who? You. To save whose lives? Yours. To prevent the healthcare system from being overwhelmed. That we're seeing all over the world now in the United States, where just about a month ago, the United States, their daily figures, new cases, was averaging between 6,000 to 9,000. In the space of a month or less, those figures have now gone back from 6,000 to 9,000 a day to 100 to 150,000 cases a day. So they are now seeing an increase in the daily tally of new cases and deaths. And this government is saying we're trying to avoid that from happening here. But while some people will look at the daily report that comes out between 4 and 5 o'clock and only look to see how many new cases we had, they're not looking at the other statistics, the other data on that report that looks at the total case count, active cases, which is on the decline. 1 week ago, it was 6,190 something active cases. As of yesterday, it has come down to under 5,600 for the first time in a couple months. So we're heading in the correct direction. But the government is aware that the citizenry, or a portion of the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago, is very indisciplined. Even with a state of emergency, even with a 9 o'clock curfew, people are still being arrested for attending these underground parties. If you lift the state of emergency and you remove the curfew, are you likely to see a reduction in these parties? Certainly not. You're actually going to see an explosion in the numbers. Common sense. But people are suffering from COVID fatigue. They're fed up staying indoors. They need to go out and lime. I need to party. I need to wind down the place. I need to broke out. Right? I need to wind on a bum bum. Come. I need to do that. But people need to understand as well that a curfew is not necessarily an attendant component to a state of emergency. You can have a state of emergency without a curfew. But the government needs certain powers and the freedom to be able to exercise certain powers in the event that. Now, suppose the government decides on the 29th to lift the state of emergency, remove it. And then we are fortunate so far that we do not have the Delta variant in the general population, that the 3 cases that have come in, the government was able to catch it in time and isolate it. But let's say in the off chance, well, I shouldn't say the off chance because they are preparing for it and we keep hearing from the medical experts that is only a matter of time, that we have the Delta variant in the general population and we see an increase in the numbers. The same people now who cry and remove the state of emergency will be the same people telling the government lock it down when we see the number of deaths start to rise because the Delta variant has a higher death rate. It's the same people. So remove it, allow us to get back accustomed to the sweet life, the freedom, where we can stay out as late as we want and we could try and sneak in our party. Right? We get back to that lifestyle. And as soon as we start to get back into that groove, the numbers increase and then you have to impose a state of emergency again and send us right back to where we were before. You have it in place already, just leave it. It is for us, the citizens, now to exercise discipline, exercise common sense. And if it is that we do what we need to do to keep the numbers down, then the government could adjust the hours for the curfew, perhaps from maybe 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. or 12 to 5, as the case may be, depending on how the numbers go. But the issue of the curfew is entirely in the hands of us, the citizens. If we are responsible and we do what we have to do, well, then fine. Then the government can respond accordingly. But, you know, let us exercise some level of common sense now, people, in going forward. If we want to bring this thing to heel completely so that we can remove all restrictions across the board, and we can return to some level of normalcy, that would be great. But it depends on us, the citizens, doing what it is that we have to do. So just remember, it's not just a case of the government doing this because, as I said, protests, all they're talking about is protests. They're afraid. Yes, they're afraid of the protests because it could cause a significant increase in numbers. Because nobody go into a protest with a measuring tape to pull out. Let me make sure the person in front of me is 6 feet, and let me make sure the person behind me is 6 feet, and the person either side of me is 6 feet. So you're walking around whole day with a measuring tape and only pulling so. That making sense? Come on now. Now there's another issue I wanted to discuss. And it has to do with a discussion that I was hearing yesterday and one I heard this morning on another frequency as I was coming down. And it has to do with the government's decision to invest $14 million to construct a pan tent or pan theater for Desperado's steel band. And apparently some people have an issue with that. Right? Some people have an issue with the amount of money being spent while you're spending taxpayers' money to build this thing, and the band has a private sponsor. And some people have an issue with the area in which the pan tent is going to be situated. And the discussion that I heard was, number one, that shouldn't be a priority. And number two, the area or the community in which this pan tent is to be located has a stigma. And therefore nobody's going to want to go there. Or people's lives would be at risk by sending them there. And that when the tourists come, you don't want the tourists to go there because gunshots and whatnot and the like. And that if it is that you want to situate the pan tent there, that you need to fix the community first. And then you could do that. Fix the community first. The only fixing that the government could do to that community is on an infrastructural basis. The mental fixing, the mindset of the residents of the community, the government can't fix that. They have to fix that for themselves. But it is unfortunate when some people are so anti-government that every single thing that the government does, you would analyze it from a negative aspect, so that your ability to analyze is set on the negative frequency. So I could see nothing good, nothing positive that could come out of that. Let me find a way to criticize it. So the community have a stigma, and the stigma is crime. That is a bad area, and nobody want to go there. And you fail to see the economic opportunities that could come out of that for that community. Because you're so laser focused. You're suffering from a severe case of myopia, that all you're seeing is negativity. Your entire vision is on negative. Now the fact is, and I'm certain, the government didn't force the hands of the management of Despers to go there. If Despers really was of the view that by them being situated there it causes a problem security-wise and otherwise, not just for their members but for their patrons, I'm sure they would have intimated this to the government, and the government could have easily found somewhere else that is a little more safe, a community that doesn't have a stigma. Right? But they chose to go there because they probably recognize that they could be the catalyst to change that stigma. That they could make a positive contribution to the area. Because you know what? That the youths in the area there, who probably don't have much to do recreation-wise now, that with the panyard being right there, some of them who can't go other places because of the turf wars and so on, so this side can't go across to that side, since it's on Nelson Street and the youth that living on Nelson Street, it's an opportunity for them to come there and they could probably learn to play an instrument, and that could have a positive impact on them. But we're not seeing that. No, all we're seeing is the community have a stigma. And that it's not safe to go in the back there, and you have to fix the community because people suffering and this and that. We're not seeing that if by Despers going there, the economic opportunities that could present itself when Carnival comes around, and Despers is not a fly-by-night band. That's one of the big bands that has a lot of supporters who will come in that particular area, especially at Carnival time when the band is being judged. The night of the preliminaries, when the judges go to the panyard to judge, you will have a significant number of people there. Think of the economic opportunities that would provide for the people in the area who have an entrepreneurial spirit, who could come and sell their corn soup, who want to come and sell their burgers, the artisans, the persons who might be making jewelry and leather craft and so on, who could come and set up a table or a little tent or something to make some money. Right? They need to see these opportunities, and they need to talk to the guys in the area who like to shoot, to tell them, hey, this is an opportunity for everybody in the area to improve our lot. Put down the gun, or at least hold all your hand. Don't mess this thing up for us. We don't want Despers to run from Nelson Street as they would have run from Laventille. Right? So let us do the right thing here. And if this first experiment can work, then it means it now paves the way, because it can say to other entities, private sector entities, well, hey, we're seeing an improvement in the area. So we could now seek to invest some money in the area, rather than just the government and the government and the government. Now they talk about fix the community first. And as I said before, the government can only fix the infrastructure in the community. They can't fix the mindset of the people. They can't do that. They could put facilities in place that could assist in transforming the mindset. But if the people don't want to take advantage of the opportunities, there's nothing the government can do. As the saying goes, you can lead a horse to the water, you can't force it to drink. Right? But let me remind you all of something. With respect to fix the community, and you only spending $14 million to build a pan site, a pan tent. And why it is you had to do that for Despers, and what about the other pan sites? Everything, and we just had to find the fault in everything. You all remember a company called the East Port of Spain Development Company that was established under the Patrick Manning administration? What was the mandate of the East Port of Spain Development Company? Let me remind you all. The East Port of Spain Development Company is a limited liability company wholly owned by the government of Trinidad and Tobago and established under the Companies Act of 1995. The company, having been incorporated by Cabinet in September of 2005, is mandated to develop and redevelop a zone in East Port of Spain, bounded by Charlotte Street, Lady Young Road, and the Eastern Main Road, and including Morva, Neverdirty, and Caledonia, to improve the economic, social, and physical environment of those areas. The boundaries of East Port of Spain were subsequently expanded to include the communities of Beetham Estates, Sealots, and Katanga. The company, which is governed by a board of directors, has as its strategic focus a comprehensive and integrated planning and development of the area under its jurisdiction. The company receives funding from the Infrastructure Development Fund, which it is restricted to use for physical infrastructure projects only. The company's main operational strategies are comprehensive and integrated development planning, public consultations and participation, project identification, project implementation via direct development, institutional coordination, and development facilitation. That was established under Patrick Manning to do just what certain people are saying. Fix the community. 2005. What year are we in? 2021? 16 years ago? What was the outcome of that experiment? Do you all remember? When Mr. Manning indicated that we would first start with the housing in the area which needed work, and that the intention was to demolish all of those old apartment buildings and to put up new high-rise buildings in the area. And what came out of that? UNC, again, mouthpieces, telling the people, hey, don't study Manning and them and that, you know. They're trying to chain all you up. They're telling all you about what they're going and build high-rise building to give all you and put all you. No. They just want to move all you out of the area so they could build these high-rise apartments for their friend and them, all the Syrian and them, and the big shot friends to come and live. And when they give all you that chain up and tell all you, oh, they're bringing all you back. No. When they finish build those apartments, they'll come and tell all you, too expensive for all you to live in. Don't take that chain up. Make sure if it is all you moving, they don't accept anything less than $1 million for your apartment. $1 million for the apartment that you're supposed to be paying $100 to $120 rent for every month. And you ain't paying 10 years. You ain't paying 25 years. But you have title to that apartment. So you owe in HDC, but make sure the HDC don't pay you less than $1 million for their property. And the people take that. Yeah, $1 million, nothing less. And what happened? It fell by the wayside. No improvement. 16 years later, current Prime Minister, just a few months ago, announced the government's intention to engage in the revitalization of Port of Spain, with particular focus on East Port of Spain. So we starting now, we're coming from the Salvatore site there where they plan to put something there, coming all the way back to Piccadilly Street, Besson Street, going all the way up the main road, I think up to, I think they said up to Pashley Street and Erica Street, those areas there, right? You had Anil Roberts, the two-pull man, going on his Douglas politics and doing live. Oh, you have a report here, and the report say that the government plan to do this and they plan to do that, and they take the people property and don't let them fool you, right? Because they just want to give the land and give that area to their 1% friends. They're not about all here, and they're going to pay you all peppercorn rates for your properties and move you out, and then they're not going to bring you back. And the talk start again. Forget that. Rowley and them feel we stupid. Yeah, they want to take we land and give it away. Give it next to nothing. We don't want that. I saw an article as I was preparing, looking, doing some research, where a guy who has a property on the Eastern Main Road, he says he wants between $30 to $35 million for his property, and then they could talk. That's the starting point for negotiations, $30 to $35 million. Unless we get that, no, we're not interested in no development of East Port of Spain. What is the government to do? They want them to come by force and evict the people and throw them out and bulldoze their apartments. They can't do that. Unless it is that the people are willing to work with the government to make it happen and to improve the community. The government can do nothing. But when you have people the likes of the Tupel man, Doglaya politics, telling them, don't listen to the government, they're lying, they want to take all their property, all their thing, this, that, the other, the next. Anytime they come, reject them. How the hell you expect there to be improvement? But I see the ads are up. So we go to the ads and we'll be back in a couple minutes and I'll just finish up and we'll open the lines.
Devices. Update your social media accounts and connect with friends and family. Stay on top of the class with online learning sessions. Or keep your team in the loop with virtual meetings. All at an affordable price. This is a limited time offer. So don't wait. Call 224-GDOT today to sign up and save with Green Dot. Improving and simplifying lives.
If you believe in the power of soca music, I want you to sing this with me. Sing. La 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 la. Life today, unlike yesterday. Friendship gone. Hate and scorn. Never living like stranger with never. No love, sir, for one another. So unite people as one and create a song. I hope it lives on from generation to generation. If you love soca music, singing oh. Shanti oh, Shanti Shanti oh. Gotta sing this part. You know I don't know this part. I don't know this part. Burn up my da, burn up my da, burn up my da, Shanti. Singing oh, Shanti oh, Shanti Shanti oh. Burn up my da, burn up my da, burn up my da, say what she ate. Oh. Shanti oh, Shanti Shanti oh, Shanti Shanti. La 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 la. All you need to sing in Queens, all I know. Sing. The people at home. I'll bring you back later, darling. Thank you. I find people like they forget how to get on for carnival, boy. Oh, let me dance it with she's or something. Hey, you people know what oh my God. I'm gonna leave you. I'm gonna leave you. I'm gonna leave you. Oh, hey, hey, I can go with mighty people in a while. Poetry, where you get that sugar. Darling, there is nothing sweeter. You make me scream, you make me fall, you make me feel like 10 feet tall. Start to sing, sugar, boom, sugar. All you need life. Now I'm gonna give only my version of Sugar Boom Boom, right? Audrey, I am very sad. This year I can't get no loving. upon the life. It's where you have to lie. If you have to whine, I can jam you in real life. I miss the sugar bum, oh. A sugar bum, oh. A sugar bum, oh. I only sing this with me. Say give me the boom boom Audrey. Say give me the. Say give me the. Say give me the.
Simpsons Memorial Limited, number 63 Eastern Main Road, Laventille. Internationally accredited funeral directors and embalmers. A full-service funeral home serving families of Trinidad and Tobago and internationally since 1945. At Simpsons Memorial Limited, we serve with dignity in assisting families in honoring the memory of their loved ones. Our services include professional funeral and pre-planning, burials and cremation, custom-built and imported caskets, coffins and cremation trays, cemetery management, limousines, mourners cars, grief counseling, web streaming of funerals, fully air-conditioned chapel with live musical accompaniment, full global shipping and receiving of loved ones. We specialize in facial restorations. Call us anytime, day or night, at 623-8688. That number again is 623-8688. Simpsons Memorial Limited. Superior service, always with excellence.
Take me to the king. I don't have much to bring.
Tune in to the Street 919 FM every Friday from 9:15 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. with Kingdom Health Services, situated at number 91 Eastern Main Road in St. Augustine. For the program, Health and Healing, merging the old with the new with Brent Diet. For more information, call 318-7471 or 484-0141 or 360-4100. It's all about Kingdom Health Services on the Street 919 FM.
Hey! Get your vaccine! Well. Since I was pitching marbles, the place was good. I went and did some doubles, the place was good. I went by the beach and I watched the skies, it was a paradise. But when COVID touched down that day, and I see the cases start to raise, I tell you, if you don't get vaccinated, it's trouble for the place to be good again. For the place to be good again. For the place to be good again. No more lockdown in Port of Spain. For TNT to be good again. Right? So we could mash it up, shell it down and turn it over. So we could mash it up, shell it down and turn it over. Yo, this is Iwer, George, big boss of the business. And this is the message from the North Central Regional Health Authority.
At Health and Wealth Lifestyle, we offer a wide range of services: blood analysis, iridology, acupuncture, foot detox, foot massages, gua sha, hot stone therapy, fire therapy, legs and feet massage therapy, mineral scrubs, acrotherapy, cupping.
We also have a wide variety of supplements, silver, zinc and magnesium, body light, and lots more.
We at Health and Wealth Lifestyle operate our business in a clean, safe, and comfortable environment. We frequently sanitize our compound and abide by all the COVID guidelines that are currently in place.
So come on down to Health and Wealth Lifestyle, where we treat you like family. Book your appointment today. Call us at 1-868-275-8359.
Or 1-868-288-1108.
And remember, your health is your wealth, and prevention is always better than medication.
Police,
Good day. Officer Best Price here. Johnny Q Auto Parts Division?
Yes, sir.
I'm here to investigate an assault on batteries.
Excuse me, sir?
Is it true? You have batteries selling for $488?
Yes. Power Master, Optima, Vata, and Megastar batteries.
So I can buy a battery for $488?
Yes, sir. For cars, trucks, and boats. Backed and distributed by Massey Automotive.
Which part?
Right here at Johnny Q Hardware and Auto Parts Division, 15 Arabita Avenue, Woodbrook. And our new Johnny Q Superstore, located at Lowlands Mall off Claude Noel Highway in Tobago. You could call 60 Tools.
Alright, thanks, boss. Nah, man. Ronnie, do you have $488 to lend, man?
Hi, what's up, TNT? This is Wayne Johnson out of Brooklyn, New York. I always wanted to do something back home, and we're going to be doing our gospel segment on Mondays from 10 p.m. to 12 midnight. That's 10 p.m. to 12 midnight on 91.9 FM. Listen what I want you to do. Spread the word. Spread the word, TNT. Salvation, full and free. Salvation is for everybody. Mondays from 10 p.m. to 12 midnight. That's 10 p.m. to 12 midnight on 91.9 FM.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying locked to the Street 919 FM. I just want to draw the point that the Prime Minister would have announced the government's intention to establish a new home for the Desperados Steel Orchestra since February of the 21st of February 2020, right? And it has now come to pass. So it is not as if this is something that just happened on a whim. The government understands and sees, and this is just part of that wider revitalization exercise for Port of Spain, and with particular focus on East Port of Spain. And I think the government ought to be given credit for that they are focusing on East Port of Spain, that they would have started a few months ago where they would have had this task force, however, that was led by Anthony Watkins and included people like Hans Devines and so on, to go into the community and talk to the young people and find out what are the things that they need to improve their lot. So to give this impression that, that the government isn't doing anything, and this is the thing that upsets me, give the impression the government ain't doing nothing, that they don't care about the people. It is up for the people in the area to take advantage of the opportunity, and I would like to believe that Desperados would have some sort of, having this announcement being made more than a year ago, that they would have had sufficient time to come up with some sort of plan as to how they could contribute to the development of the community. Not just on an economic level, but also in terms of assisting with the whole mindset change. But the people of the area need to see the economic opportunities that can come from this. And this would just be the start. And if they can make this work, as I said, it is going to boost confidence for the private sector to now come forward and make investments in this particular area to improve the lot. But the government and the private sector cannot change the mindset of the people. So to try and throw that at the feet, and the government need to fix the community first. They could fix infrastructure, but that's about it. And they are willing and have stated their intention to fix the infrastructure. But if it is that you're going to have people who do not live in the area, who do not have an interest of the area, come in to tell the people, reject anything that the government offers you to fix your area, then whose fault is that? When they reject it, just like they did in 2005, when Mr. Manning was there, if they decide to reject it again, what you want the government to do? If the people don't want the development, the government will just put the development elsewhere. This is what you should be talking. Go into the communities and talk to the people about that. 342-0081, 466-5391. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Dominic. And
hi, Jenny.
1.9. Mr. Chance, our guru, Mother Telefona, Miss Angie, all the Golden Girls, and so many others. Mano, with regards to the SOE and the extension, Dominic, I have the firm belief in the right-thinking citizens of this country that they would understand why it should happen, and they would abide by whatever regulation is there because they know it will be in the best interest of themselves and their families. Businesses are opening back up, that's what people wanted. Hairdressers and all those other services will be opened up. And slowly by slowly, we are getting back to some type of normalcy. And I think people will want that to continue, and they wouldn't want anything to come and hamper that for us to go back to where we were some months ago. So I think that they will do what's in the best interest, and the naysayers will have their say, because that's what they're there for. And we just have to be logical in what we're doing. And again, I say I have confidence in the right thinking citizens. With regards to the Pan Academy, is the Pan Academy?
I believe so.
Right, that the government. I'm just saying it's very ironic that when in 2003 the PNM government, the Hanuman statue, 80 feet tall it stood. The Hanuman statue at the Bhattacharya Mandir in Karbi, China. When that was built, that was in the interest of a certain grouping of persons. Did we complain about it? We enjoy it with them. When you're driving along here, you see it, and it's admirable when you look at it. But that was under PNM government would have done that. We didn't have any issues with that, right? When the temple in the sea was rebuilt in 1995, and they received assistance from Europe, headed by the Member of Parliament then, a PNM Member of Parliament, Mr. Jarrett Norine. I didn't hear there were any dissenting voices about that being built and whatever, but that was built for a certain sector of the community, and all of us appreciate it. People go and look at all races, go and look at it, all that. So me now watching that the Pan, there's something actually going to be done for the Pan that is predominantly played by or used by or associated to people of African descent. The same way we did not have an issue with Hanuman statue that stands 80 feet tall, that was done under PNM and constructed under PNM government, and also the thing out to the sea. Let me don't say thing, the
temple in the sea?
Yes, the temple in the sea. That was rebuilt under PNM government also. We didn't complain. And not only that, there's some big there's another statue or something that would have been done under the PNM also. We don't complain about those things. So what is the issue? And finally, before I go, I want to say, had Satmaraj been alive, one of the biggest races after Hari Prasad Singh, I am sure the government would have been taken to court for building that Pan Institute there that is going to be built. But you know what I'm happy about? Under the new leadership of the Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha, there seems to be a more amicable type of relationship that they're having. While they still maintain the culture and the tradition while they're doing it, and under the spiritual advice of the pundit, who incidentally is the uncle of our dear CMO. They have been able to maintain an amicable and more friendly relationship with all parties involved, social partners and otherwise, while still maintaining their culture and their tradition. So I'm happy to see that. But had Satmaraj been alive, I'm telling you, in my opinion, the government would have been taken to court for that. However, when anything is done for the Hindu community, who are our brothers and sisters, of course, there's no type of complaint. We all celebrate it. So why is there such an issue now? I'm just asking. Dominic, you have a blessed day and reach home safely.
Thank you, Jenny. Mano.
Yes, good morning to you, Dominic. Good
morning, sir.
Jenny. Good morning. Well, you know what I want to hear? I'll listen to hear. That is Kingsley area. I want to hear if you have anything to say about that. And I heard that fella from the countryside, we always call him the man who knows everything, know it all. He said that the Pan only have value in Trinidad because if you're going in part and you're going to hear a Pan that's like nothing to nobody around the world. And nobody take him up. I think Kingsley should have taken up in that. And wrong circle and non-fresh should have taken up with that because he always have to discard the Pan or anything that has to do with the majority of people in East Dry River. But may I tell him, there are lots of East Indian in the Pan business at Chaiba. You had Samaru. You had too numerous to mention. So don't think it's an African business. That's what he wants to say this. In other words, there's no value because listen, I want And I'm glad that Dr. Oli take the stand. Dr. Oli, hold the joystick with your left hand, put your right foot to the pedal, and use your eyes and your right hand to listen and to look at frequencies. Do what we have to do. Thank you. And I'm glad that Desperados have the home now. Thank you, thank you. I'm a born Desperados. It was started in my grandmother's backyard when we first very Captain Bear on the Rudolph Charles, on the whoever it is now. You understand? So, Cordon and all them fellas, they make them the film Cordon and Talkative and them fellas and them. I want to call all them fellas them who had a lot to do with Desperados, and that boy who from Belmont, and he went to Little and they're red boy. Forget his name. Anyway, thank you, Dr. Oli, and the people of Israel River. Let's make a good out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mano. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dominic Baraman.
Yes, sir, greetings.
Yeah, greetings, man. I'm going to say good afternoon to Sharon, bubbling that pot there right now. Big sister, Miss Felix, Mother Tuna Puna, and the whole and Daddy Chance. Dominic, I listen to the racism and the discrimination. Daddy Chance on an East Indian format with Sadro the other night. And you know what Sadro saying? That he gave them 3 years after that pan 10. Peanuts, 14, as your former leader say, $14 million. Peanuts to the kind of money that we lost in corruption. That in 3 years, people in East Port of Spain, when they're done with it will be it will fall apart. They will start a fight amongst one another, and it will be no more. So you don't understand, but when his uncle was Shah Mohammed, Eric Williams took and gave them the East Indian format station on Mahaval Road. It was a success. What he meant, Dominic, is that black people can't do business. When Daddy Chance challenged him, he backpedaled and he wobbled and he danced and he all out. But 20 years, then fellas pushing the discrimination and the race on the program. But Daddy Chance them have to do what they do. I listen to them fellas years, I know what the hell is. So he should not take up the money because black people can't do business and they go end up a failure. But here what's going on? We have a leader, and the reason why I'm calling Russell Simmons at Tobago politics, because he's turning back on the community. He's not an Afro-Saxon. He's a Tobagonian, and he believes in community. And remember, he's always repeat, even when he was doing the opening there, when he come to Trinidad, the first place he ended up was in Lavantil. So they're just a part of it. And the PAN never mentioned in Dominic that the PAN is the national instrument, you know, is that it could be that could be a colossal failure. You know, in certain that African people can't do business. But that is the empowerment. When we talk about Professor Wall Street, that is where it had to start in the community. And that's supposed to have a good structure, Dominic. They are good people, and they have a big, I think Whitco is also the sponsor. So Whitco not going to throw money behind a losing entity. That's what Daddy Chance forget to tell Sadro with his nasty undertone and his rape. He and Tony. The next thing I want the government to deal with is that dump in the Labas. That Beetham dump. For about 50 years that's supposed to move. We can't have a city. We have 4 years to move that dump, that squalor, a stone throw away from your capital, playing on the self-esteem of people in the Beetham and Steelers and Lavantil, that it have a dump and a rubbish heap next to them. I want that to be the next agenda, next main agenda, Dr. Rowley and the cabinet, to get that stinking dump away from the decent people of Beetham and environs. Right? So they had all the nasty names to call them that we know people just call them because of that dump and that stigma there. But Dr. Rowley had to do what he had to do, and the success is going to be a PAN academy like Lords, like Sydney, like Wembley, where Europeans will come from all over the world, all over Scandinavia with a PAN group, and come to play in the Mecca. What he's creating is a Mecca of PAN, a stadium. It's not just a despot alone to use. He say on the hills will be community development will take that and transform that. When every other group get away again, nobody don't vex. Right? But peanuts, as Jacona says, given to the national instrument, but Sadro pushing his race out in 3 years. You see them fellas don't feel their mouth. because PNM had them fat and nice and they live nice all their life because of their uncle, right? When Shah Mohammed they get his favors for his Indian formatted station, that would not fail. But no, you're trying to push a connotation and a perception that African people can't do business. That is all of them good for. And Dr. Lorrington, stop in there, you know. Just remember the cathedral. Dominic, the cathedral for the Baptist community that the government promised. We must not forget that too. That is on the agenda. Right? The only indigenous Christian religion in Trinidad and Tobago. That must be dealt with as well in this 4 years. Lift up all your community because the East Indian friend you have, the white boy friend you have, the Chinese friend you have, he's not going to turn his back on the community no matter how much friend he is with you. When it's time for him to hobnob and go behind his community, he will go. So thanks again, Dominic, for listening. Dr. Rowley, do what you had to do.
Hello, good afternoon.
Dominic, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
How are you doing, Dominic?
I am good.
Okay, Dominic. Dominic, I can't tell you what to run a program, but I find some of your callers doesn't really use the discussion in the time. They continue talking. There's a lot of people want to make contribution to Dominic, and your hours is not that long. It's a bit short. Dominic?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Dominic, I saw something what I'm so disturbed about. An Indian guy singing about the Tigris Kalaha, whatever, I can't even pronounce the name, and make him a prime minister and he's a donkey. But I want to tell you, we the people of Digo West will continue to support our donkey because hence the reason why when they talk a lot of nonsense, our donkey is like a lot of kicks behind all you. And all you have to take him until his time up. You understand me? And I also noticed too, Dominic, the union threatened to sue Republic Bank. You realize that, right?
Yeah, I saw that yesterday.
Yes. Dominic, where do we go from here? Where is the love? You understand me, Dominic? Look at yesterday, it's about 6 persons was murdered. The young guy in Europe, and then I think about 5 got killed up there in this place up there, Dominic.
Carapo, yes.
Dominic, where is the love? Where is the love? Do we have love still, Dominic, or we do not have love again? Dominic, you have a good afternoon and reach home safe.
You too. Thank you. Hello, good afternoon.
Dominic, good morning to you.
Yes, sir. Greetings.
Let me commend you on your level of assertiveness, all right?
Thank you.
I admire the way in which you analyze a lot of things. But let me have this nice and slow conversation. I'm not going to take up much time.
Yes.
Let me ask you this question. All of East Port of Spain is like the heart of all of the other communities, Belmont, Laventil, Mova, and everything. You agree with me?
Yes.
And those are like vital organs.
Yes.
Okay. So let me just ask this question. We know that there are people right now rushing to take their 2 cents and go and buy property in Sandy Grande. Stuff that's not even regularized. People will chance grab up their money and buy a piece of land over there, right? And a piece of property.
Yes.
It's not even regularized. I want to ask you a question. How many people you know is willing to buy property in East Port of Spain, which is so well connected and is a vital part of the country?
Yes.
How many persons you know willing to live in East Port of Spain, Piccadilly, and those kinds of places outside of the country?
Yes.
They view those areas, or even Belmont and places like that. How many persons do you know willing to do that? And here's an additional part. The valuators don't even want to go and give value to the property.
Yes.
The banker, even if you have a child who grew up learning a bit of money management, when they go to the banker don't even want to finance it. So I want to ask this question. Is the people in the community responsible for that? Because let me just say this. Privileged people can make things happen and make it unhappen. You see, underprivileged people, they can make nothing happen and unhappen nothing. So the privileged created the underprivileged and then they turned around and said that the underprivileged is the problem. So my simple question is this. Who is responsible for the condition that all of these Port of Spain and these areas are in? Is it the people? Since they can't make things happen or unhappen, and if nobody don't want to buy no property there, and it is the most lucrative part of the country, who's responsible for that? Talk to me. Let's dialogue.
All right. Well, I would say, I hear your point, right? The government has taken the first step in making an investment. And we would need to ask the question, so as you said, what is the disincentive? Why isn't there persons who are willing to invest in these particular areas? And we know why, because as somebody said yesterday, the area has a stigma. And people believe, well, if I take my money, and it need not necessarily have to be just to go and buy a house in the area, to set up a business. If people feel, well, there's a likelihood that I'm going to be robbed on a regular basis or something like that. So they would probably think twice. And I agree with you, and that would have fueled the reason why the banks and the lending institutions are hesitant, because they figure if it is that we give money to the persons who may be willing, and I'll tell you something, I met a gentleman about 2 months ago who wanted to purchase a house on Oxford Street, closer to more to the eastern side. Property was valued at just over 300,000. He went to several credit unions, all of them turned him down. He went to the bank, he went to TTMF, and everybody is telling him that is a red zone. And they're not willing to lend money to purchase property in that area, because if he's unable to pay his loan and they have to seize the house, it would be very difficult for them to find people who are willing to purchase, and they are likely to lose their money. But I'm saying that if it is that the risk is reduced, and again, the people of the area need to do some stuff, because there are good people in all of these areas, people who are productive and are doing very well, who have good jobs, despite the fact that you would listen to some people from the area who would give you the impression nothing good could come out of Laventil, nothing good could come out of Mova. But we know that there are persons who are holding high positions living in these areas and are doing well, but they're not focused. The focus is not on them. And so therefore, there is a need for more focus to be placed on the people, on the good people in the area, and the good people in the area, the persons who are productive and so on. They need to come out now and see what they could do to contribute to improve the area a little bit more. As I said, with this establishment of the PAN tent or the academy, or whatever it is there, it now provides an opportunity for the young people that does not currently exist in the area. So persons who might be minded towards playing PAN, they could just walk down the road. They might be passing and somebody might say, hey, young boy, come here, come. Pull him in. And then he enjoying that, and his sister see, and the cousin see, and everybody come and they join, and there is that development of the community. But it is not, we can't put the blame on any one individual. There's a number of entities that need to come together to improve that. And the government is saying, look, we could have put this anywhere else. We could choose to take the mindset, well, it's a stigma, the community have a stigma. So let's put we're not risking people's lives. So let's put this PAN tent somewhere else that is safer in Woodbrook or something. They could have done that. But they chose there, and it's going to start there. And once it is that this PAN center is constructed, and people start to go there and they realize, well, you know, people are going there in here and anything but any robberies or shootings, eventually other people now might be willing to invest in that particular area. But it has to start somewhere, and the government has taken the initiative, and it is now for the private sector to join with the government in doing that. So I agree with you. There needs to be a change of mindset, not just in terms of the people, but to develop the area in order to get that capital that the banking institutions, the financial institutions also have a role to play.
Dominic.
Yes, sir.
Listen, you took me all over the place, and we got nowhere really, because here is what. You're not making up your mind as to who is going to be able to be influential enough to make the thing be the way that it ought to be, because it is the heart of the entire body of the country.
All right, let me ask you one question, Paula. Let me ask you one thing, right? Whenever it is that the government says that they're going to invest money to redevelop or to revitalize East Port of Spain, you realize there are people from the outside who come, and what do? They tell the people, do not sell your property. Why? Because there are people, the government's real intention is to give that because the 1% want it. The 1% want to come and develop in that area, so they want it. And what the government is going to do is that they're going to tell you all that they come in to develop for your benefit to move you out of the area so that the 1% could come and buy it up. That's what they told them when Manning when he established East Port of Spain. Don't sell your property for less than $1 million because these people want it. So it's not that you don't have people who want it, They want it. There is a market for it. But the problem that they are saying is... go ahead.
I am so happy that you took us right there.
Right.
Because you are very informed about a lot of things. So let me just ask you a question before I quickly proceed to where I want to go.
Right.
Tell me what happened when the proposition of the 2020 vision was put in place sometime when in 2000 or 2002.
Right.
When was the 2020 vision first offered?
Right. So that would have been around 2002 because Mr. Manning would have come back into office around 2001. Yes.
Good. And do you know, or can you tell us what is the reason why since 2002 until 2010, whatever the plan was by whoever was the person who had the plan, what is the reason why the plan did not take place?
I wouldn't say the plan didn't take place. There were different elements of the plan which we saw coming into place. And one of which Mr. Manning recognized that Trinidad and Tobago needed to start to look more like a developed country. And so he would have started again with the Port of Spain waterfront, where he did the waterfront project there, government campus and all that thing. And the UNC said he was trying to change the Port of Spain skyline because he wants to be an emperor and so on. So there were certain elements of the 2020 plan that was put into place. But of course, Mr. Manning wasn't expecting to be ousted from office in 2010, and it would have continued. And had he stayed in office, had he lived, then I believe that if he had been Prime Minister, at least up until another 5 years, that we would have seen a lot more of those things put in place. But when he lost office, because he hadn't got around to certain things as yet. And as I said, East Port of Spain development was supposed to happen since 2005. And you had people like Ramesh Lawrence Mirage telling the people in that area, don't listen to the government when they come to tell all you to have consultation, unless they're willing to pay $1 million for your apartment, reject anything that they come with. The government had to deal with that.
So you just answered the question. So after all is said and done,
yes,
a body of people had a wonderful plan.
Yes.
And just like anybody who has a plan, you also have to have a strategy. And we know that a lot of people, when they have a plan, it is the reason why the plan is not properly executed and doesn't come to full fruition is because many a times something was wrong with the strategy, the execution of the strategy. We also know that a lot of people are not dynamic enough to figure out that when their strategy did not work, you must be able to second guess yourself and recognize that your strategy did not work. But what most people do is they go back and they create some kind of new plan with the same old plan. So it's like they rebottle the same wine, and that's what is the feeling of a lot of people. They rebottle it into another kind of plan, but it's the same plan that they fail to execute properly. So here is what I'm going to ask you. If you have a plan from since 2000 and your execution of your strategy never came to fruition, are you going to punish the people who have been in those places by saying things like, you know what, them people don't want nothing good, them people and them have no whatever it is? I'm not saying that, I'm saying to you that the people of East Port of Spain, Belmont, Laventille, Mova, and the Beaton, all of these people are very, very special kinds of people.
Yes.
I'm saying so, right? They all want to be able to have all of the wonderful things that they see people in other communities have. The homeboy would like to be able to have a nice girlfriend and a nice car and dating like how we see some of them fellas in the Porsche and thing driving. That's what the average homeboy would like to have.
Yes.
So if you have a plan and you have not executed your plan, your strategy very well, do you blame the people by saying that, you know what, them don't want nothing good. That is why your strategy did not work. And so you leave them in a state of temporary suspend. And then what happened? In 2007, there were certain kinds of values that people who own property will tell you they were getting. And by the time it was 2013, the value that they were getting, they hardly had anybody interested in even buying anything. So who is responsible? Again, let us get back to this. Who is responsible for the plan and the strategy not being put into effect. And then the entire heart is not beaten properly until nobody don't want to buy nothing.
Right.
Everybody believes it's a whole set of thuggery and scams around. I ain't saying that is so, you know. But everybody believes that. And then the valuator don't want to come and put no value. And if you write a valuation report, he says, you know what, nobody in the country want to really go there, and then the banker don't want to finance it. Who is responsible for that being that way, Dominic? And who is going to be responsible for changing that, Dominic?
All right, I'll tell you what, caller. I'll have that conversation during the week when I have more time. Listen to me on Tuesday morning. I'll address it.
Remember I said,
yes,
privileged people could make things happen,
yes,
and not make it happen.
Correct.
And the privileged people created the underprivileged, and then they turn around and say that the underprivileged is the problem. How could you create something and then you turn around and say that it is a problem?
Right.
But one last thing I want to ask you here before I go. You see, when TNTech and WASA have to go with security guards into community, then who's responsible for fixing that? Who's responsible for you to be able to get clean water in the pipe so that when your children go and drink the water that's looking clean, but if you spill a bucket of that water, what you will see is almost a millimeter of dirt formed in the bottom of the bucket within about 15 minutes. Who's responsible for clean water to be in the tap? Who's responsible for WASA and TNTech when they're going to bring service to our community? They're not supposed to be going with security guards. Who's responsible for fixing that? You want to talk to me? Let's talk.
All right. We will talk on Tuesday.
Or the people. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Love in the house.
Thank you, sir. Hello, good afternoon.
Dominic?
Yes.
That's for real, boy?
Huh?
I said, that for real is over 15 minutes. This man have you there, and I holding on. That man just repeated all what you said already. What you discussed, that man just constantly repeating the same thing over and over. What kind of foolishness are you hearing, boy? Where does this come from, boy? Irritated man like you trying to tire, boy? Well, what you explain, you glad what the government looking to introduce it, but the behavior some community had to behave. You explain all that already, boy. And this man just come and repeating that over and over, boy, and trying this elementary thing with you, boy. Then you're done, boy.
Yes, sir.
I had to congratulate you on your information concerning the correcting the misinformed. It's about misinformed individual.
Yes.
You see with the Grenada and the Jamaica. Yesterday when I demonstrated that misinformed. All I see, if you know you're coming on a radio station, make sure you do. You understand?
Yes.
You hear it before during the week and have everything correct. I even talk about Australia. You understand what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I even talk about the country. It was New Zealand, the country who had the virus under was number one control.
Yes. Now they're seeing double digits every day.
Right. This individual, I don't understand where this individual doing getting his things from, because he did all for him anti-Dr. Rowley. As I saying, you could hear Dr. Rowley, but if you thought Dr. Rowley do something good, you understand what I mean?
Yes.
Stop the critic, applaud for that he do something wrong, but then look at with someone down Princess Town.
Yes.
I know that someone falling under pararat. But you just listen and talk, and you just jump one time on Dr. on the PNM keys.
Yes.
So I had to call back and let him see. You see, it's not good just to hear something and just have to mash out. Like a TV just, you understand what I mean?
Correct.
That's it, where you have to get your things straight before you come on the radio and start to to you, your barrel foolishness. Because the reason why you don't listen the Monday night forum too much.
Yeah.
Stop listening the Monday night forum and do your own journalism. Listen the foreign program too. That ain't listening that at all. All that you want is the government to mind you. Is the government to mind you. Oh gosh, man, he's a big man. And the content with the facility requirements looking to run over.
Yes.
What I feel, how I see it, because the way I hear the next active group, that was in your station and the same station I tell you about and listen. But you know, it has what they see. Until it has one besides the one from Penal, who said them thing behind the bridge and what they call the Lavantel people. It has one they call Pond. The man said the African people feel Trinidad is them more their own Trinidad. So what I say then, if Dr. already gone open that place, a place to keep the Masaba house things and chutney, one Penal open in the economy. Yes. I'm telling you, you would have never hear all them confusion. You would have never hear them back and everything would have been smooth, although they hate them, but he would have been spending the money the correct way, and just not one group would not be would have been getting it and gangster and all, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And the money would not be wasted at all. Telling you, boy, why people have to be so dependent on everybody. The government said they wanted to diversify. You could even bring in foreign currency. And the pan decipher this was, it will have other pan. We coming into that. You know what I'm talking about? Well, it's not easy, boy. Critic, boy. Critic. Take your time, Dominic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir, good afternoon.
Yeah, I've listened to you, and there is nothing you have to explain on Tuesday. I, as a father, have to teach my children how to become competitive. Right. I, as a mother, have to teach my children how to become competitive. That's how we're going to start helping. The government has a part to play, but as a parent, I have the most important part to play. Teaching my children how to walk right so people will come and invest in my community.
Yes.
Those people who talk about nonsense, they are sick in their mind and they need help. It's a question of I as a father, I as a mother, doing the part I have to do in Lavantil, Morva, San Fernando, wherever it is, to make my community a community that people will want to come and invest in and live in. Not the government. I have to do it. If I can't do it as a parent, I have failed my community. Tuesday, I'm going to explain to people who seem to be sick in their mind. Have a blessed day, sir.
Thank you, sir. Right. See.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. I want to shake that brother's hand because I live in these communities and I can tell you that you have a role to play. The government have a role to play, you have a role to play. And also let's talk about Lavantil, Mr. Dominic. When you have these programs, let me tell you something. Lavantil is the only community have the most primary schools and secondary schools. In these communities, they could walk to school. In these communities, after if they fail in school, they have enough trade schools to attend to. They have Serval, they have HYPE, they have the MUST program, they have CCC. And that's what I remember. It has many more. And these programs, they can walk to. They even have YTEP. Yeah. And speaking about PAN, this is something that I've been here in the PAN community. I've been lobbying for, begging for. Now we get to they have a twisted. And I want to ask the UNC, I was talking about the 1%. They was talking about the 1%, but the PRO is at 1%.
Always talking about the 1%, you know. Excuse me. That land down in Sharamas. $1 a month for the next, 30 years?
Yes.
And that was not a giveaway. These people are multi-millionaires. That is the kind of deal and the kind of thing they sign. What the government benefit? What the people benefit? We benefit and we can benefit off of that deal. And if you see the kind of price they're charging for you to go down with that way for you to get a certain ride and all kind of thing. We have to be crazy and we believe in what they're telling us. Well, Mr. Manning, let me tell you something. Those communities, they are embedded with drugs and have people who look like me and you and you think they're for you. They're not for you, Mr. Dominic.
Mm-hmm.
They're more for themselves. So when they come, they say they don't move from the 1%. They have some of them had a hand in the cookie jar there. And they don't mind how much how they dead, how much how they kill out each other. Because they want this little scrums after all the drugs and things by and the rich get the millions. They want the scrums to continue to use you. So they will find an excuse. Why wouldn't we want to move from them kind of rundown buildings and then upgrade my standard of living? But Mr. Dominic, most of these people sign up, you know. Like, apparently everybody sign up to move. So they lost. And no matter what they try to do, people not listening to them anymore. Look at a particular opposition. She leaves from Separia, Pinal, all them San Fernando, all them places and centers to come down to Chiconas to play she get vaccine. Because to me, I hear she said she got vaccinated before. I don't know what's wrong with these people, you know. These people have no intention. They don't love this country. All they want is division. Let me talk about the SOE. Mr. Jamaica have a 24-hour SOE for the next 7 days. 24 hours. Wherever you get, you at the same side. 24 hours until the following week. And it starts from today. It is in the Caribbean. How long Grenada has been under SOE? Grenada. How long a lot of these Caribbean countries have been locked down? Christmas, when we were shopping and all over the place, England was shut down. The reason why England and France and all these places are opening back, and a lot of people in the media not informing them, is because majority of their people has been vaccinated. France, you cannot go in a restaurant unless you're vaccinated. You cannot go and shop unless you're vaccinated. These are the kind of implementations some of these countries implementing to go back to normalcy. I don't know America, too many billionaires in America, so they want to lock down the place again. 100,000 a day, that is the kind of statistics. If America continues, they're predicting that they will have 4,000 deaths a day. Is that what we want? Mr. Politics is very nasty in this country. It has people counting how much race or this and race or that dying. That is how dirty the UNC politics is. They don't see people of African descent as a Trinidadian. They see them as a PNM. And they will vote PNM. So if they're there, they don't care. And it has people, they see all this murder, they have people investing in crime on the ground because they don't care about crime. They will not move all these things until they care about crime. They don't care about you. You have to care about yourself. And all this black talk. They have black people who own businesses in Port of Spain, who own buildings. And they went into the same government with the complaint about 1%. That building between Duke, I tell people, I used to work in that building and I know the individuals. Between Duke and Charlotte Street, Mr. Dominic, that building, Ministry of Labor, is owned by a black person. And the same person who had a big group that they was to pay $100 and $200 to join. So when they say they're for you, they're not for you, they're for themselves. And there's going to be black people that do. Some of them don't care. We have this slave mentality. Once I'm happy, I don't care about the rest. And we have to open our eyes. This SOE is to protect you and I. When you open the bars and you open all over the place, what will happen? We wouldn't get 4 a day, 7 a day, 10 a day. They were getting 15 and 20 something a day. Let us protect ourselves. We need humans. We need people. Why you see the less people we have, the more rich you will get? That wouldn't happen. Only let us protect ourselves and let us work with the government. I've never seen the PNM work against us. You know what's wrong with us? We're just buying the rich people talk. No rapid rail. But who building the highways? Who's selling the cars? When you build a highway, you have to maintain it, you know. to the old that have money in the pocket. Who bring in the cars? They are just think about the things. No smelter. So the jobs can be trickled down to the layman. You could have been collecting plastic bottles and getting money. All these different things within no one could have trickled down to the poor. And where we are today, the rich getting richer because we talking. We know all the property tax. But they're renting the building for 15,000, 100,000, millions. And how much they're collecting. But we sing the song. Don't ask. The frustration we pay me once a bill, but it's a million. Hundreds of them owing the government millions and they wouldn't get the money because of the cry and we're not thinking. But I'm out. All the people, we have to listen and we have to think before we speak. And it's not all about just yourself. What about your future? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, Dominic.
Yes, Jenny. Pan theatre.
And by that is like Napa, but this will be for the pan. So
right.
You're performing ads for the pan.
Mm-hmm.
This is a way to have cultural diversification. And just the same way that when tourists come, they will walk around and see the Magnificent Seven and the President's House and all those historical sites. It's an opportunity for them to go and sit down and listen to orchestras play. Because I'm sure it will not be just Despers alone utilizing it. They will be able to have, I guess, the pan jazz and all the different pan competitions that normally that they would want to have on off-season of Panorama. They can happen there. So I'm seeing this as a big, big win for Pan Trinbago, for the Pan fraternity. It is a Pan theatre, and just as any other mandir or temple or anything has its own thing that people go to and look at, and the Hanuman statue and the temple in the sea, and all the historical sites it have. This is just another one of it. So I want our citizens to take heart. This is ours. This is our culture. The only instrument that was invented in the 20th century. And it's 20th century, right, Dominic?
Yes.
Yes. And it is ours. And we must reclaim it. We must love it. Because people say all kind of things about Pan Trinbago and they have a pan this and this one and have a pan stool. And you know what? It is here. It is happening. Let us embrace it. Who don't like it, in my own personal view, could lump it. It is here. Hooray for the people of Laventille. Hooray for the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Despers and the Pan Theatre that everybody can go and sit down and watch and listen to sweet, sweet, sweet pan. So make it from faces.
Thank you, Jenny. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Dominic.
Good afternoon.
The program as usual.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to give a word of advice to our young people and those who wanting to be an entrepreneur and stuff like that. I am a small business person.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I learned, if you really want to excel in business and stuff like that, you have to read some books.
Yes.
I was going to St. Kitts 2 years back, and I bought a book on small business. And I just want to tell them that some of the things that I read in the book, I started to apply it to my business. And I'm Dominic, I must say that my business is starting to go places.
Excellent.
And I am seeing so much more opportunities ahead of me, things that I never even used to think about. I mean, it is just blossoming in front of my eyes now. So I just want to tell the young people, get and read books, whatever your passion is, whatever you love, read books on it, because there are the people who has gone before us that was prosperous in it. Well, I can't get the right word right now, but was positive and was productive. Well, they made it well in those areas.
Yes.
And they wrote these books so that we could take little patterns and learn and apply it to our lives. So I just want to encourage young people, and I know it have a lot of young black people that are getting this head together and are being serious about their life. So I just want to encourage them. And do not give up. That is one of the basics in getting into business. Do not give up. Want to stick to your passion. All right, Dominic?
Thank you.
And bless the auntie and all my beautiful black people. I love them all. I don't care what they say. We are beautiful and we are lovable. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Kola, you have 1 minute.
Short and sweet, Dominic. Good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Trinbago.
Why is always a problem when we have to get something? And that is the culture, friend, and the old pioneer. Why we don't have these problems with these people? And by the way, becoming conventional and so on, large conventional solid steel on the move right now. And we're doing our own thing. All we have to do now is to charge the flooring. We're doing the thing. And due to the COVID, we could not have a little barbecue and thing to raise fun. But we're coming strong, my brother. Culture stand will dominate in this country. Look on as usual. You have a safe and blessed afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
We are working.
Thank you.
Right.
Out of time, but not out of things to say, folks. We'll continue the discussion. So join us in the morning, Sharon and Bruce, Titans of Democracy, from 6 o'clock, and I will be back on Tuesday morning. This is certainly a discussion that I want to continue because there are a lot of perspectives and a lot of misleaders out there. And if the people from the area, some people from the area only talk in the area bad, I mean, what is left for those of us who don't live there? And we don't know if the man who lives in there says so. We have to take his word. Yeah? So enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And we will talk on Tuesday morning, God's willing. So I'm out.